Welcome back. This is Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you from the Nigerian Television Authority. And this morning we're discussing admission processes into tertiary institutions. And to begin our discussion on part 2 of the admission process into tertiary institutions, let's take a source from part of our discussion put together by Abdul Salam Jibril.
Since 2017, in order to be transparent in what we are doing, we established what we call CAPS, Central Admission Processing System. And what CAPS does is that, one, it returns the right to admit candidates. It returns that right to the institutions, because prior to that, 2017, it's possible for JAM to give admission to a candidate.
The rights to admit students to universities is embedded in the statutory role of JAM, but not without the contribution of the institutions. And it's surprising at this time to see that there are institutions that will go outside JAM to admit. The process is laid down, the procedure is clear. No admission should go without following through the CAPS.
There is a standing, guidelines, for admission process generally, in the higher institutions, more especially in the tertiary institutions, universities. And one of these guidelines is as stipulated by JAM. Once you can be able to go through the guidelines, you may not have a lot of hitches, except, and I said where, maybe the university itself had its own standing rules or expectations from students. But the standing rules or guidelines, even by the federal government, are the candidate, must first of all, get the required, point from JAM. And then secondly, you must be able to at least have your SSE.
There should be a group, volunteer group, handled by JAM, coordinated by JAM. They have offices in every state. Volunteers from all the institutions, 1-2 persons, so that just before the exercise begins, we can go to these secondary schools and educate them. Because somebody want to read engineering, subjects for JAM subjects for engineering is physics, math, chemistry. Then you now see his subject combination. He has brought in accounting or some other social science courses. So most of them don't get admission because of that. They have very high score, but the subject combination is wrong.
I also want to, at this point, suggest that actually instead of you looking at this criteria, the Nigerian government or the Nigerian, the education system should be looking at, the issue of merit, or try to uplift the status of particularly science, technology, innovation programs in the universities.
All right, now those were excerpts from part 1 of the conversation on the admission process into tertiary institutions, and that conversation took place last Thursday. Of course, there are a number of issues that are arising from that first part and other matters that we were unable to touch. But happily, we have with us again for today's conversation, right here with us in the studios, Professor Ishaq Oloyede. He is the Registrar and CEO of the Joint Admissions and Matriculations JAM. He is also a former Vice Chancellor of the University of Ilorin. Professor Oloyede, delighted to have you again on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, the world.
All right, and from our Kano Network Center, we are being joined by Professor Shehu Alhaji Musa, who is Vice Chancellor, Kano University of Science and Technology. Professor Alhaji Musa, pleasure to have you with us this morning.
Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, Kingsley. Good morning, Yusuf. And good morning, Registrar and other colleagues.
And joining us via Zoom from Ota is Professor Oludele Ojediron, Vice Chancellor, Bells University of Technology, Ota, Ogun State. It's nice having you with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Good morning, viewers. Good morning, my registrar. Good morning, colleagues.
All right, gentlemen, once again, our pleasure to have you join us on this conversation. Substantially, my colleague and I, that's to say Nadabo and I, were on set last week, and when we were discussing the admission procedure, we tended to weigh more on admission into public universities, and in particular, federal universities, where the criteria for admission are more clearly spelled out. For instance, this year the cutoff is 200, I believe, 200 over 400, and then the universities are obligated to use the criteria of merit, catchment area, and the discretionary, which is generally labeled as educationally disadvantaged states, to pull in their candidates for admission. We didn't quite have the benefit of a private university, nor did we have the benefit of the presence of a state university to also indicate to us. The JAMB registrar, of course, did say that private universities and state universities, state-owned universities, do also have their criteria. So today we are happy that the Vice Chancellor of the Kano University of Science and Technology, Professor Shehu Alhaji Musa, is joining us from Kano for today's conversation. So let's begin. We may, of course, return subsequently to admission processes into federal universities, but let's begin with the Vice Chancellor of Kano State University of Science and Technology. How do candidates get admitted into your institution?
Once again, good morning, everybody. I think from the onset, let's understand that I do not see much difference in terms of admissions into state universities and admissions into federal universities. We need to understand that basically universities are universal, and therefore you tend to have certain commonality of issues that guide the operations of universities. If I can be specific to Kano University of Science and Technology, I can assure you for the last, since the establishment of the university have fully adhered to all the regulations that governs admissions in public universities. For example, the issue of merit is been observed. The issue of educationally disadvantaged issues has been observed, and all other surrounding issues dealing with registrations, admissions of our students have been observed. I can authoritatively tell you that even though we are a state university, but we admit students from all over the federation. I hope the registrar of JAM will remember sometime he was in the university and we had some of these discussions, and I have been a proponent for a very long time. I think for the last 7 years or so, I have been a proponent of admitting students from all over the federation, whether it is a state university, whether it is a federal university, whether it is a public university, and we can do this smartly without actually affecting the system to a certain level. I remember when we met with the registrar, I think about 5-6 years back or so, we had these discussions that if universities will give only 0.5% of their admission to all states of the federation, when you put that together, you see that you 36 states, you have roughly about 16% of your admission. And that 16% of your admission give a national picture, or rather give the university a national focus in terms of admitting students from all over the federation in such a way that they can mingle together, they can study together, and this will now help us in terms of addressing the issue of national cohesion. Perhaps as a state university, there are emphasis that you need to do, and I think this is basically because of the huge a demand in terms of access to university education. For example, if you have 2 million people, you cannot admit 40% of it. Then naturally there are tendencies that are bound to have some competition will strengthen, and you'll be able to find some things that probably may not be working as best as you would probably project. But I can assure you authoritatively in Kano University of Science and Technology, we admit students from all over the Federation. Any state that is not represented is because probably they have not shown interest or they have not applied. And in that case, you have limit as to what extent can you actually move on from Kano to move to other states, begin to ask people to come. But I can assure you, we are having strategically this in mind, even though chunks of our admissions is from Kano, and perhaps the neighboring states also take some advantage in terms of Jigawa, in terms of Katsina, in terms of Zamfara, in terms of Kaduna, in terms of Bauchi, in terms of Yobe, and all other close-by states, and even including those that are a little bit far away. For example, Sokoto, Kebbi, North Central, all of them. I can assure you that chunks of the people that you have from Kogi State are many, and from other North Central states. So for me, I think basically there is no much difference in terms of what public universities criteria of admissions, and then criteria of admissions in state universities. Like I said, universities are supposed to be universal, and I think this opening in terms of admission from all over the Federation will now encourage national cohesion. It will encourage peace and stability. It will enable a better understanding among our teeming youth. Once you stay together with somebody for 4 years or 5 years together in the same class, certainly the bond of understanding is being created, the bond of friendship is being created, the bond of partnership is being created, and the bond of national understanding will be created. And I think this is something that probably the other organs of government can really take this into consideration. We are doing, I think, basically the right thing because we are there to do the right thing. And I can also assure you that perhaps this year's case for 2021, Kano University of Science and Technology has been in the best pedestal of handling the situations. When COVID set in, we were our student for 2019-2020 academic session did not actually have the opportunity to get registered. And so when this happens, we then talk to JAM, and I'm happy that JAM answered our call and they gave us all the necessary understanding, and therefore we're able to match the two sessions, 2019 and 2020 and 2020-2021 session. And I speak to you at the moment, we have already completely finished our admissions for the 2021. The students have registered. We have gone on mid-term break, and they are now to complete theirs. So basically, Kano University of Science and Technology have stabilized its calendar, even though with the COVID-19 predicament and challenges. So basically, I think this is an area where we all need to be innovative, we all need to be cooperative, and we all need to work as a team. Probably including, JAM is a partner in progress for all Nigerian universities, and I feel that JAM should also take all Nigerian universities as partner in progress. We have been doing this for quite a long time, peacefully, without, over-sensationalization of issues, and I think both JAM and universities, whether federal, whether state, we all need to key into these issues to ensure that we work together as a team. As the saying goes, let's do more of the building work now, rather than issues that will now put us apart or put us at barrier to one another. My clarion call to all of us is that if there are issues that need to be addressed, there are in-house ways that we really need to address them. If, for example, brothers fight, it does not mean that it should be forever. If there are issues that need to be addressed, the opening should be there for these issues to be addressed. The JAM should...
All right, Professor Shehu, thank you very much there for your opening comments, but I just want to observe that there is a sense in which some of the explanations you gave tended to be normative, what should happen, what is happening now. Let's clarify this from the point of view of a state-owned university. Now, at the federal universities, the criteria, as I indicated, and as you very well know, are merit, catchment area, and educationally disadvantaged states. Now, merit is 45%. Catchment area is some 35%, and disadvantaged locations about 20% or so. What criteria, what are the numbers you allocate to these issues? Yes, you say you admit students from all over and so on and so forth. What percentage do you allocate for merit? What percentage do you allocate for catchment? And what percentage do you allocate for disadvantaged states in terms of their educational progress?
For Kano University of Science and Technology, we take on merit and we work on 45%. We also work on the catchment areas. We also work on the educationally disadvantaged state. But one thing that you also need to understand, Mr. Kingsley, is that even if you want to go on merit of 45%, which the university is currently doing, even within the state alone, you can still get this 45% that will scale on this basis of merit position. So naturally, I think it's like I said, it's not an issue of the fact that you just do arbitrary admissions and you admit everybody without any criteria. You need to understand the quantum of students that are now trying to get admissions into universities is relatively huge. And ordinarily, like I've told you, even from the state, for example, if you take Kano State alone, this is the University of Science and Technology. We already have, the feelers that feed, our science and technology education, right from what we call the Dawaki experiment. So you still have, even within the merit, because the merit did not exclude those that are within the states. So basically, by and large, like I have told you, the percentages that has been appropriated for this, in most cases, particularly in Kano University of Science and Technology, we try to address it. Maybe it may not be 100%, as religiously as, probably it may be applied in federal universities. It may not necessarily be as religiously applied in state universities. And this depends on, the visitor that you have. Some of the visitors in some other state universities may not necessarily be understanding of this scenario. But I can assure you, for Kano University of Science and Technology, as a visitor to the university, the executive governor of Kano State, Dr. Lomo Granduja, has been supportive of the university to do the right thing and to do what is universally accepted for university to operate. I can assure you authoritatively that he has not at any point in time send this list of students they want to be admitted because they are from Kano. So we try as much as possible to adhere to all the national provisions from Kano University of Science and Technology. This may not be necessarily the same for all state universities because the nature of the visitor, like I've told you, or proprietors of these state universities matters. For example, there are vice chancellors of state universities that doesn't even have the privilege of getting to their visitor for 2-3 years to even see him and discuss. But what I want to assure you, Mr. Kingsley and others, is that Kano University of Science and Technology, not on normative terms, but even in terms of figures and working figures, and these issues are issues that can be verified at any point in time.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Professor Shehu Alaji Musa, Vice Chancellor, Kano University of Science and Technology. That's a state-owned university. Now, as the background has been laid, Professor Oludele Oje Duran, Vice Chancellor of Bells University of Technology, Ota. This is a private university. And of course, last week when we discussed, we didn't have the advantage of having, that segment or that group in the discussion. And of course, we really want to find out exactly how it is going out there in the private institutions, or rather private universities. Your institution, which of course you represent, is one institution that will really give us an insight into how admissions are being conducted as far as CAPS and JAMS, criteria are concerned. How is it going? 2020, 2021 admissions session. How are you going about it?
Good morning, Nigeria, and good morning, the registrar and the convener. I want to thank you for having me on board this morning. I want to also commend the last speaker on the procedure. The private universities, or at least the University of Technology, is regulated by the rules of JAM when it comes to admission. Our admission for the year 2020-2021 is on, in fact, has been completed. on the procedures laid down by JAM. This is virtually put in place, and they are simple procedures. Our admissions are place all candidates on a level playing ground. All you need to have is the 5 credits required for the course you want to run and meet our cut-off mark. But we didn't have a problem with COVID because we went online. We had these virtual teaching classes. We were teaching online. We had the exams online. So we didn't have problem with 2019 and 2020. The 2020-2021 admission started immediately. JAM opened the caps and admissions went on. And we have admitted enough according to our carrying capacity. It is our carrying capacity that determines who we pick and who we do not pick. However, all candidates are on the level playing ground. Once you meet our cut-off marks and have the relevant 5 credits required for the programs you have applied for. Where you come from, who you are, does not matter, so long as you have the requisite qualification and the requisite cut-off marks for our university, as stated by the university and accepted by JAM. But the students must be on the cap to accept our university as well as the JAM accepting them before we register them. Ours do not have much of this caught in the wheel of where you come from, whether catchment area or whether merit, or all of them are merit, so long as you meet our cut-off and normal 5 credits required. Does that satisfy you, sir?
Professor Ojediro, thank you very much. You've said it a bit repeatedly that provided the candidates meet our cutoff mark. Now, we know that after the UTME, the JAM normally would have a meeting with the vice chancellors, and then they agree on a cutoff mark depending on the performance that year. So there is a JAM cutoff mark. For you in your university, what is then your own cutoff mark? Is your own cutoff mark the same as that of JAM in the first instance, or it is different? And then when you say meeting the requirements of the specific course you want to study, obviously that would derive from having the number of 5 credits that you need. But there's another point. You talked about carrying capacity. And that has always been a thorny point in the admission of candidates into both private and public universities in particular. So tell us, what is your own cutoff and how do you play around or deal with the issue of carrying capacity and a deluge of applications?
At the meeting, the usual annual meeting with JAM, the cutoff marks are selected and are taken. For our university, the cutoff mark is 160, and that was decided at the JAM meeting, which holds every year. Now, the credit required depends on the program you want to study. For instance, for engineering, we are a University of Technology. For engineering programs, we have English, mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology. Those are the 5 credits that are required. When I say our carrying capacity, the carrying capacity has been given by NUC. For our university, the maximum is 5,000, but now 5,000 candidates. So once we get to our carrying capacity for the entire university, we stop admissions. Now for this year, we have a capacity of 1,400, and we took exactly 1,000 students in. We expect 6 seats that have been admitted and are still being regularized. When I carry capacity, I mean carry capacity for the entire university. And that's what regulates us. We do not go beyond our carrying capacity. Carrying capacity also means that our facilities
Thank you so much, Professor Ojediron. Let's hear from the host, if I may use that word now. You've been in this one for quite a while.
The host of CAPS.
The host of CAPS, that is.
Thank you very much. And my colleagues who had contributed, I just want to supplement what they have said. The question is, what are the criteria? And for state, let's get it right. The criteria for admission will be determined by the proprietors of the institutions. That's the first thing. The law, JAMB law made that clear. The proprietors. If you are federal government gives us through the Federal Ministry of Education, Federal Executive Council say these are the criteria. That is for federal government. The state governments give their respective, it's not uniform. They give their respective criteria. The private universities also have their criteria depending on the private university, the proprietor. Each proprietor determines, and that's why at the beginning of admission every year, JAMB will ask each institution, we have sent the result of your candidates to you. What do you want as your minimum score that you want to take from UTME? All of them individually will return to us before policy meeting. Oh, I want to take 120 because of what I've seen. I want to take 140. I want to take 160. Or we will compile the list. And that's one. The second stage is, what are the criteria approved for you by your proprietor?
Before we get down to the second one, is there no benchmark for the...
No. There is a benchmark, but how we arrive at it, I just wanted to take everything, but I can jump to it. Right. Is that after you go to policy meeting, at the policy meeting, we then determine you want 120. All the heads of the tertiary institutions, their registrars, and their admission officers will jump 2 or 3 from each institution with the Ministry of Education. The Minister of Education is the chairman of the policy meeting. And with the board of them, we now look at all their criteria. Oh, I want 120. I want, no. Policy will now determine, okay, given what all of you, at times we vote. And we now come to, this is the minimum for every, when you say minimum, it does not mean that everybody must, because some people say that of Unilag is different. Minimum means minimum. That is, nobody should take any score below 160. For example, University of Ibadan may say, my score, we have seen it, University of Ibadan will say 200 is my minimum. If you get to that meeting, you can't say no, because you have said 200 and they say 160, your own will go to 160. No. You have chosen 200. The policy is affect only those people who are chosen below the minimum. That, oh, those of you who chose below the national, please upgrade to the. So it doesn't mean that the person who has chosen 200 must accept 160. JAMB will not even allow him to say the cutoff this year is 160. No. You have chosen 200, and it has to be. If you now find out that you can't have enough candidates, there is a procedure that you have to write to say, sorry, what I've chosen is unrealistic, and I want to. And we will now go into the process to make sure that in between this time, you have not changed some candidates. So we look at all those. That's one of the things. The second one is we ask you, determine the criteria by your proprietor. For instance, if you want to go to University of LASU, Lagos State University, their criteria, almost all of them. But we do one thing. Even if your proprietor approves something that is like the VC of Wudil mentioned, university is universal. If your proprietor determines that there will be no merit, we will engage the proprietor and say, no, don't do that. I give example of a state university where the State House of Assembly said for medicine, law, and so on, you will divide, the merit will be according to local government. That is, what they said is that we have 14 local governments. Pick the best from each of the local government, not necessarily the merit. We engage the House of Assembly. We told them that in order to task the lecturer, in order to task the students, there must be high-scoring candidates, brilliant students, otherwise the whole class will go down. You may say your merit should be within your state because it's your state. Anybody who goes there, who applies to your university, who is not from your state, you can say no, we are not taking them. But we even agree with almost all the states of the federation that at least 10% of your merit must be national and international merit. That is, if you want to admit 100, 10 of them, no matter where they come from, for the improvement of your class, take them. That is the merit. And all the states, without any exception, agree that 10% of their admission is what we call national and international merit. Even if they come from one same mother, they will be taken because of their brilliance. And when we talk of merit, it's not just the score in UTME. It is the score in UTME plus the post-UTME conducted by the institution, plus the WASC in some cases graded the WASC score, that if you have A1, A2, all these are combined to get the merit list. When the Vice Chancellor of Bells University was talking a moment, I went on to CAPS now, and I went to see everything he was saying, because I could see, I went to his accounting here now, and I could see that in accounting, those who applied to CAPS, to Bells University in accounting now, there are 42. And you will see those they did not pick. They did not pick number 20 on the list. And when we look at it, look here, it's false. False means that person did not upload his result. So they will jump him, and they will, okay, to show it like this. So they will jump him and go to, they did not, there are candidates they will not pick, like number 39. And I look at it, it's false. You can see this blue. Blue means that they are doing the everything correctly. If you see a gap like this, there is a problem. On my own system, when somebody jumps a high-scoring candidate to go and pick, there will be an alert that this person you have picked, you have to explain why you are, but you set your criteria. The state and the federal, they are not the same for federal. If you want to go to LASU, for example, if you come from anywhere, say you come from Australia, once you fall within the first 10%, you will be taken. That is their merit. Secondly, they will now take 35% of the merit on Lagos. That is, if you are from Oyo, they will jump you, and they will be going down. They will pick their own merit for 35. Then they still have, and this, their merit, they will also determine it. If you are a staff, for instance, we had a very nasty case the year before where somebody wrote to JAM and was threatening to go to court that I am from Oyo, I applied to LASU, I score higher than this candidate, and this candidate is also from Oyo, and this candidate had been chosen and have not been chosen. He sent all the papers to us, and we investigated. We now discovered that the father of the other Oyo, who scored lower, is a staff of LASU. And by their own, anybody working in LASU is given the same treatment as indigenes of Lagos. That's part of their criteria. The proprietors. And we wrote to the candidate, you are free to go to court if you want, and we will provide it. But the truth of the matter is that the father is this. Oh, at the end of the day, the person saw this. The criteria, the proprietors determine the criteria, and where we believe that the criteria were not well spent, we engage the governors, we engage all the proprietors, private institutions, and we tell them, why don't you do it this way? But unfortunately, in Nigeria, people don't want things to work according to plan. If you want to admit somebody, whether you are private, you are public, set the standard. Ours is to moderate, to ensure that the standard you set by your proprietor is maintained. You cannot, for instance, Bells University now, There are people who apply to bells. They have chosen University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Now you now see, oh, there is vacancy in Bell, and I want to cross to Bell. There is a procedure. Immediately you apply for change of course, your name will automatically appear on Bell's list. We don't need to send anything to them. Once you apply and it's approved, you appear immediately on CAPS of Bells, and Bell will look at you. If they want to take you, nobody, no candidate can be admitted. That's one of the values of CAPS. No candidate can be admitted except the candidate is proposed by the admission officer of that university, recommended by the vice chancellor or provost or rector of that institution, and it's approved by JAMB. And so, when it is approved, you are now free to go and do what. But what we find is that there are some very few institutions, because of so many factors, they will not even propose a candidate. They will offer the candidate admission. They will even collect money from the candidate. And after collecting the money, they will now realize when they now want to upload to CAPS, CAPS will say, no, this candidate is not qualified because there are higher scoring candidates. So you can't jump them. They will now go back to the candidates from whom they have collected money to say, oh, I can't give you mercy again. I will now, because of CAPS, I will post you. And the parents will now be writing down, please, we are begging you, this is the letter of admission from the university. But the university cannot. Of course, they won't have letter of admission. They can't go on NYC. There are inbuilt mechanisms that will make them without having the proper admission. That's number one. Number two, they also distort the statistics of the nation. I give you an example. I was at an international seminar about 2 years ago, and I was embarrassed. I gave the statistics of admission for the previous year at that forum. The next session, I want to give the statistics. It's no longer the same. And coming from the same me, what happened was that I gave them the figure and I said, we admitted 560 candidates into tertiary institutions last year. This year now, when they asked me, how many candidates did you admit last year? I said 700. So for that same year, I said yes. What happened? There are illegally admitted candidates that year that they did not disclose. Now, at the point of graduation, these candidates cannot go on NYC. They cannot do anything. There will be pressure. Then they call what they call regularization of irregular admission. As you are regularizing them, you are increasing the number for that year. So the statistics that National Bureau of Statistics are giving is no longer static, because at the time of disclosure, they did not give full disclosure. Some of them are even changing the proprietors, because the number admitted will be used to calculate what they have admitted. And at the end of the day, you will find out that they have admitted more. There is a particular institution that admitted 20% of the candidates 2 years ago, 20% illegal admission. What we have done with CAPS is that no regularization from 2017. And when pressure came, we said, okay, what we will do, because we have spent the national resources to train these people. Here is a medical doctor now. He had been illegally admitted. No number, no registration. He didn't even take UTME, but he was kept in the university and he went through. Here is the person who had graduated now, and pressure had come. We now created what we call condonment of illegal admission. You don't call it regularization. What we do is that the head of that institution will fill an indemnity form that I agree that I actually admitted this person, or my predecessor actually admitted this person illegally. And I want to indemnify the board about it. They will make full disclosure. In some cases, the candidate did not even meet the requirements. We have a person who read medicine, who didn't have chemistry, O-level chemistry. But here is the person, here is he in front of you. What do you do? In some cases, you say, okay, go back, go and when you present your O-level chemistry, we will now ask the university to accept its error. These are the things we have been doing over the years. And we believe that we have reached a level now that even while clearing the mess that had been created, we shouldn't create more mess. And what we are insisting on, of course, the law that established JAMB has so much empowered the board on what to do, what to sanction and what to. And the law says clearly, irrespective of anything in the law of any institution, once you are a university, you are a polytechnic, you are a college of education, you are IEI, no matter what your law says, the law of JAMB has said irrespective of anything existing. But what we do is to engage this institution. Where we... Yes.
Complete that,
yes.
Prof. Irrespective of the provisions of any institution. So what does JAMB...
What is the
empowerment clause?
JAMB is the one that will place candidate, that will admit candidate for you. But we do it in conjunction with you. And that is why we are asking, oh, bring this one, let's meet together, this is what we do. But eventually the power to admit, anybody who admits any candidate outside the board, what we have not been doing is that we have not been holding people personally responsible. We would say personally, but now indemnity form contains it, that you will be personally liable for violation. It's not just as vice chancellor, as rector, in your father's name. And that is the process.
Not ex officio.
Not ex officio. So that is what, and all of them is clear. We agree on it. This is indemnity. You will be personally held responsible. And the admission officers, why some of them are very careful, is that once you open CAPS, it will be clear to you, you are the initiator of the admission. Irrespective of any instruction given to you, any admission you process without following the rule, you will be personally held responsible. And that's why many of the 99% of the admission officers, they will prefer to be removed from that center than to do what was wrong.
Okay, how do you respond to the claim that JAMB is usurping the powers of admission of the Senate of a university? Yes. We have seen that. I mean, let's be blatant. Yes. This is coming from the University of Abuja. If you recall, we discussed this last week, and they said that you are usurping their powers.
Leave them. I don't engage my colleagues on the law empowers us to do what we are doing. And of course, that was the first time since I assumed office that I will hear any institution talking of usurpation. It has never. What is happening is that when somebody does what is wrong and you apply the sanction, you don't expect the person to just raise his hand because the laws are so clear. And I don't need to discuss that. Decisions are taken. Then the minister must then be usurping the power because the minister is the one who presided over the policy meeting. And immediately, not less than 2 weeks after the policy meeting, the decisions were communicated to every vice chancellor. This is the policy meeting as approved by the meeting presided over by the minister. So if somebody is, or an institution is saying, oh, my Senate, my something, I think that person wants to create just a defense, and we should tolerate such thing. But the truth of the matter is that the law is very clear. If there was no need for the establishment of JAMB, JAMB would not have been there. But for me, I believe we may have problems like any other institutions, but we are doing as much as we can. If any institution violates it, we don't just issue instruction. The first thing we do is to engage the university. There is no university that we will mention the name of the university publicly, that is not a serial offender. It will not be the first time that the person, for instance, we will have engaged that university the previous year. You did this thing. Please be warned. If the person now go, you know what happened between us and the University of Benin 2 years ago. The University of Benin, after some bragado, they realized, they apologized. Oh, no, you must publicly apologize for what you have done. And then let's go ahead with what we are doing. It's just, that's how to develop a system. If we allow everybody to behave according to his whim, then there will be no order.
But, Prof, University of Abuja has been claiming they didn't do anything wrong.
Oh,
that is
no,
one.
they have not claimed.
And secondly, there are questions all over being asked that if JAM is the regulator, and of course universities will be held responsible for certain wrongdoers, and as you said, some staffers of university could be held responsible individually for certain actions. So far, how far in trying to check this and seeing that these laws are applied and they become deterrent? So many, how many have so far been, punished? And then what would the public say about this rule?
For me, I think it's not about punishment. It is more about doing the right thing, correcting errors, and moving forward. But where there is flagrant, you need to make 1 or 2 scapegoats so that people will know that laws are there to be obeyed. If you, I tell an institution that if, for instance, you mention University of Abuja, let University of Abuja, I have admission letters here. Admission letter of candidates who are prepared to go to court, who had been admitted, but as at this morning, one good thing, which you may know, yesterday when I learned that I was to appear here, I went to Abuja CAPS to look at it. And I'm happy that they have now quickly uploading so many of the candidates. They don't know that there is a date and time stamp on what they are doing. Where somebody who score 80, you leave him, you left the person, and you now pick somebody who scores 60. And we refuse to approve because what is the offense of these people? That's the question we're asking. But in the last 48 hours, they've started uploading those gaps. And I was just smiling because even if you do it, and I told my people, approve as they are, once they are okay, go on and approve them. But the stamp is there, the time you approve them. Why did you recommend somebody with 60 earlier than the person with 80? Once they do what is right, there is no problem. But there are people, for instance, I was looking at one of the candidates that had been admitted to law. There is no way that person can be admitted to law because it's number 300 and something on the list. Even if you want to, there is no way that candidate can come in because there are higher, better candidates on the list from the same state of the person. So what we are saying is that there must be fairness. Okay. There must be. I like the way that Woodil put it. Was it Bells University, VC Bells University, said that level playing ground for everybody. Many of these private, of course, the private universities, they don't have much problem because except for very few of them, they don't even feel their carrying capacity. So when people go there, people are giving all sorts of conditions for public institutions because the demand is more than the supply. But when you go to many of these private universities, the demand is not as high, and it's because of finance that people know that. But if I have the opportunity of attending free institution, tuition fee, why do I need to go to fee paying? That's the problem. But we are trying and things are getting improved. But for public universities, either federal or state, there are rules largely. I have seen, and these CAPS makes it easy for everybody. Initially, we had problem. Why do we have problem with CAPS? Because it doesn't allow people to travel. Okay. Because you don't need to travel anywhere. The VC is seeing the screen. I'm seeing the screen. And 4 a.m. this morning, I called somebody from Auchi. I called the person up and I said, you did this around 2 a.m. He said, who are you? I said, I'm registrar of JAM. He said, around 2 a.m. Yes, you did this. You registered this candidate with number so. He said, oh, because I woke up in the night, I check it. Why are you registering at 2, 3 a.m.?
When there's no difference in time zone.
And by the time, the man just shouted and said, these people are witch. He was telling somebody apparently, because they didn't know that technology, as you are doing it, the system, and I monitor everywhere, anywhere I go, I monitor the thing.
Professor Oloyede, well, thanks a lot. I mean, we'll have the opportunity of getting the feedback from the other guests in terms of their appreciation of CAPS, but clearly, we are saying what a regulator should do.
Yeah, sure.
And how a regulator should go about his business.
And I think they should know that the regulator is not a witch anyway.
Yeah, this is a regulator who never sleeps, like the Godfather. All right, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. We're live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We're taking a short break now. When we return, we continue with the conversation. We have thought that we would be in a position to exhaust all of the issues, but the more our guests are speaking, the more that we realize that we're actually expanding the coast. But let's go on this break. All right, you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Just before we return to both Kano and Ota for our other two guests to make their contributions, I just want the former Vice Chancellor of the University of Ilori and current Registrar and CEO of JAM, Professor Ishaq Oloyede, to respond to this. You talked about a great number of things. Now, in an earlier part of the operations of JAM, candidates used to have first, second, third choice of universities. And I think there were also two course choices, course of first choice, course of second choice. But it appears these days that a candidate literally has no choice. You fill in just one university, and I think, assuming the candidate doesn't want to go to a college of education or a polytechnic, a candidate is probably just allowed one entry of university. So that if the candidate wishes to make a transfer or otherwise, again, of course, I know you talked about the window of change, what that other university will be telling you is that, did you take us as first choice? Even private universities are already asking that question. So the question there would be, why is there this limitation on the choices that candidates have of institutions to apply to?
Thank you very much. Every candidate, indeed, we increased the choice rather than reducing it. Prior to 2016, they have first choice, second choice, third choice. When I came, I made it 4. 4, that one of it, no matter your choice, one must be IEI. You can make it number 1, you can make it number 2, you can make it number 3, you can make it number 4, but one of it must be your fallback position. That in case you do not have...
What's IEI?
IEI, this is what do we call it, Jerry? Because I call it IEI.
All right, that's okay.
That is, I will remember,
we'll find out.
Entrepreneur Institutes. Okay. These are institutes that offer NID, National Innovation Enterprise Institutions.
Okay. Mostly polytechnics.
They are not polytechnic, they are like monotechnic. Okay. They don't offer ND, they offer NID. Okay. National Innovative Diploma. They are largely, 90% are privately owned. They are skill centers. Okay. Like the NTA in Jos, you have one of those IEIs there. Okay. So these IEIs, we say that every candidate, you must pick one of the 4. So a candidate pick 4. You can pick 2 universities. You can, but the third one must be either a polytechnic or a university, a college of education, or you may pick every 1, 2, 3 college of education, 1, 2, 3 polytechnic, but one of the 3, the first 3, one of the 3 must be a polytechnic or a college of education. You can't pick 3 universities, but you can pick 2 universities and then pick a college of education or a polytechnic.
And in the 2 universities you pick, one must be a private or one must be a state or just university general?
What we have is that there are certain universities that you cannot pick them together. You can't pick Unilag and University of Ibadan. You can't pick University of Ibadan and Abuja. Because the further when I saw what University of Abuja wrote, I smiled. They said they are the only one with natural, which is not true. It's because they don't know the rules. Do you get the point? University of Ibadan has the whole nation as its catchment states. So you can't pick a university like that, 2 of them together. So, but you can pick University of Ibadan, for example, and pick University University or University of Jos as your second choice. Then you pick. But where the problem is coming from is that during the first admission, the university go first admission. Those who pick them by second choice, they will do them after they have done the first choice. But candidates are where when they have their result and they know that they score very well, they will quickly change. I won't wait till I am second choice. I change to your first choice, and we allow them to do that. If you are choosing University of Ilorin, for example, as your first choice for medicine, and you have chosen University of Ibadan as your second choice for the same medicine, but suddenly you now discover that you scored 350, which means you meet the requirement of University of Ibadan. You can quickly apply and say, I want to change my second choice Ibadan to first choice. So we give them the opportunity before the closing of the gate. Every university tells us when to close the gate. Every individual institution will write to us to say, I want to close my gate on so day, and we close that gate. It means nobody can change to that institution as first choice because they are ready to do. But before conducting their admission, you can change from second choice. But if you wait, but the reality is that only few cases that they will consider second choice, because those who apply for their first choice are more than. So when candidates now see that they meet the requirement, they are the one rushing there. Candidates, as they are doing registration now, they are picking 4 institutions. You can pick 2 universities if you like. You can pick 4 colleges of education. You can pick 4 polytechnics, but you can't pick 4 universities. You can pick 3 colleges of education, 3 polytechnics, but because the 4th one must be an IEA, Innovative Enterprise Institutions.
Okay, Professor Shakwi, thank you so much. You've raised so many issues here, and of course some of these are supposed to be responded to by our other guests. But I'm very much concerned about the issue of awareness now. What you're talking about is soul bowling, or rather, cascading down into education. Professor Shehu Aleju Musa, the candidates are within your reach. They are within Kano State and the environs. And of course, what the registrar is saying is that a lot needs to be done, from all indications, on your part as institutions in order to educate the parents, the students, and of course the community on how to go by this process in order to be free from any default or fault or difficulty in trying to get admission. How much awareness is there on your part to the stakeholders as such?
Well, we have a series of programs when it comes to the admission exercise. We do a lot of live programs in radio stations, and we also do a lot of, discussions and visitations to the traditional institutions, those that are within reach. But I can assure you, in terms of the need to further educate in terms of the opportunities that are there, I can assure you people are now becoming very aware of what has been happening in the university. For instance, when I came on board about 7 years ago, we don't get up to more than 50% of what we really wanted to even take. So we have to do what you call sourcing. We now have to move out and try to, marshal students from various places. But as I speak today, the university have much more higher number then the university can even admit. So obviously, while we do the, the campaign and other issues, we also need to also understand that when you are, for example, the carrying capacity of Kano University of Science and Technology is 5,100. And I think the last 7 years, it was 1,800. But even at the 5,000 now, we now have more number of students that are applying. Sometimes about 7,000, 8,000 are applying. And this is what we can actually admit. So sensitization has really helped us and put things on track. Just if I can briefly mention what I've earlier started in terms of the coverage of the university, I can assure you for the last 17 years, the best graduating student of the university in the name of Chinwe Grace Okafo was from Abia State, 17 years, and she graduated with a GPA of 4.83, which the university offered her automatic employment, and Alhaji Aliko Dangote, as the chancellor of the university, also offer her, on automatic employment. It was just last year that her record was taken over by Munir Abba. But quickly, I want to say that what the registrar have said in terms of CAPS, I think CAPS have done a lot of revolution in terms of admissions in universities. Apart from time saving, apart from financial resources saving, it's also given an opportunity to track all the activities that is going on. And it also support in terms of showcasing the transparency of the system. So obviously, there are quite a number of innovations, and I believe universities are also measuring up to ensure that they key into that system. Maybe the CAPS, if there is any limitation about it, is the fact that sometimes, the awaited result issue gives some concern. But the number that you really need to admit now are higher than that. So even that may not be that of a serious, challenge, so to say. Probably we need to continue on this track, and we need to do, as you have rightly said, Mr. Yusuf, we really need to do further education and to ensure that people are being carried along in terms of the available opportunities that are within public and private institutions. And that will now help in terms of, because the whole crux of the matter is the issue of number. You have more number than you can actually admit. So whether you gave 10 options in terms of the choices and the rest of them, that quantum, the demand in terms of access to higher education is so huge, and it may take some while for Nigeria to be able to resolve this issue. Even with the expansion in the private universities, and probably with the proliferations of additional state universities. For example, Kano here, we have 2 state universities. So obviously, I think the registrar, in terms of the revolution for CAPS, the organization has done well, and we're fully aware of that, and I think we appreciate that.
Okay, Professor Alhaji Musa, thank you very much there for your comments. Let's bring in once again Professor Ojediran, Vice Chancellor of Best University at Ocha in Ogun State. Professor Ojediran, well, this might not be an issue significantly for privately owned universities that in general tend to run very stable academic calendars. But we have seen over the years, on account of the frequency of industrial actions, either by ASU, SANU, NASU, and all the various unions you have in public universities, that the academic calendar is disrupted. So sometimes you are not quite sure for which years that admissions are going on. So the point came up last week. Unfortunately, we are pressed for time to drill into it. And that has to do with the validity of UTME scores. Should it just be one-off? That's to say, you write it this year, so you are stuck with it for this year. If you're unable to gain admission for that particular year for which you wrote the UTME, then of course, you're tough luck, you have to sit for it again. But we do know that elsewhere, for instance, whether you're writing for graduate admissions, GMAT or GRE, those scores usually have a validity that is longer, in some number of cases, more than 1 year. Is this something that we can also take a look at here to say that, look, yes, this year you had a good score. Unfortunately, we were not able to get in. Could you carry over the score to another year? What are your thoughts?
Can you get me the last question? It's not very clear.
Okay, my question is, in your opinion, what should be the validity of a UTME score? 1 year only, or a year and more, or 2, or XYZ?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. And let me first and foremost commend the JAMB registrar for the great work he's been doing. When you have a procedure and you have rules and regulations and you follow it, you are good to go. And that has made our own job here a lot easier. So we just go straight by the rules, straight by records, and we're done. The JAMB scores for the previous years are not used in the current year. JAMB score stays for only 1 year, and the following year, we use the next JAMB score. The admissions, like I mentioned, is based on carrying capacity. I did not get your last question very well. There's echoing around here. I do not know. Maybe I'm answering that. But straight to the point is that the CAPS has helped the university extensively. And keeping to that gives all private university vice chancellors easy ride. It's either you're there or you're not there. So just have 2 criteria to look at: your WAEC result, which must be okay, and the minimum score, which is a cutoff agreed at the policy meeting. Those 2 issues, those 2 criteria are the ones that we use. Admission this year has been very straightforward, has been good. We do not have issues of strikes in the private universities. As such, our calendars have been following our calendars rigidly and regularly. So we have not lost any semester, not lost any time. And our students, for instance, are starting exams Monday next week for the 100 level and 200 level. For the 300 and to 500 level, they have finished their own exams. In fact, they have started their second semester. So because we're able to go through this online and through the lectures and examinations, we did not have any disruptions of our calendar.
Okay, all right. Professor Ojediro, thank you very much. I want to pose the question to the JAMB registrar. Validity of UTM scores. I mean, it's been in the public domain, very briefly.
The issue is that exams, many people don't know that in education, examination has a purpose. Exam that we set is not an examination for achievement, to attain achievement. You can't say this is going to be the pass mark before the exam, or even after the result must have come. That's when you say, this is where we draw it. But achievement test, the one that has a validity beyond 1 year, are questions that are set on the basis of achievements. That is, this is the quantity of chemistry you must know. This is the quantity of physics you must know. Anybody who does not have 50% of that cannot go in. But in our own case, a ranking exam, there are 1,000 of you want to take 500. The last person we want to take may score 10%, because that's not what qualified them for admission. Many people have forgotten that what qualified the candidate for admission are the O levels. This exam that we are setting, and I always give this example. You have a car. Your car can take only 4 of your children, and you have 10 children, and you want to go to Lagos. You set an exam for them. One scored 9, another one scored 8, another one scored 2, another one scored 1. You can't say the third person who scored 2, I will leave the vacant seat and drive because you have 2/10. You are ranking them. Number 2 is the third person. He must take his seat. It's not the call. You can't say because he scored 2/10, therefore the seat, you will drive the seat to Lagos vacant. It's a ranking examination. Ranking examination is meant to rank people. For example, I give you this thing. Somebody scored 280 this year. He wants to read medicine at the University of Ibadan. You say bank it. Even if he banks it for 10 years, he cannot go to Ibadan to read medicine. Because 280 because some people will take exam and they will score 350, 340. Are you saying he should be given preference over those people? He has to be ranked every year. So, and students, even if you tell them, they won't listen because they want to improve on their performance.
So virtually, Prof, you're saying that it's only for
it's, the purpose, the exam
all right,
set,
it's okay.
It's not
so,
an achievement
all right,
test.
We
it's
thank
a
you.
ranking test.
We thank you so very much, Professor Ishak Oloyede, JAM Registrar and former Vice Chancellor, for being on this program this morning.
Thank you very much.
We also thank Alaji Shehu Alaji Musa, the Vice Chancellor Kano, and then, of course, Professor Oludele Ojejiron for being part of this program this morning. We thank you all for watching. That was Good Morning Nigeria. I'm Yusuf Drabo Suman. See you tomorrow.
I'm Kingsley Osadolo.